Imagine you're walking through an airport. Your gate is only a few minutes away. In front of you are two choices: a moving walkway and the normal floor right beside it. Without thinking, you step onto the moving walkway. Not because you're exhausted, not because your legs hurt, just because it makes life a little easier. Now here's the strange part. If someone asked why you did it, you'd probably struggle to explain. It was just there. It felt easier. I didn't really think about it. But what if I told you that tiny decision started millions of years before airports even existed, because somewhere inside your brain there is a survival program older than language, older than farming, older than fire, and every single day it's quietly making decisions for you, including one that makes millions of people believe they're lazy, when they're actually behaving exactly the way nature designed them to. Which brings us to a strange question. If exercise is so important, why didn't ancient humans do it? Not once, not on weekends, not in the mornings, not after work. In fact, if you had invited an ancient hunter to join your gym, he probably would have laughed at you. Not because he hated moving, because your idea would have sounded completely insane. And once you understand why, you may never look at fitness the same way again. Let's play a little game. Imagine you're an ancient human. You've somehow traveled into the future. A modern person walks up to you and says, "I pay money every month to enter a building, pick up heavy objects, put them back down, run without going anywhere, then leave." You'd probably stare at them in complete confusion, then ask one simple question. Why? Are you hunting something? No. Running from danger? No. Building a shelter? No. Carrying food back to your family? No. Then why are you doing it? That question seems funny today, but for almost all of human history, it would have been the only question that mattered, because every movement had a reason. Every step cost energy. Every calorie spent had to earn something back: food, water, safety, shelter. If a movement didn't improve your chances of surviving, why would you do it? This is the first thing modern life makes us forget. Exercise feels normal to us because we grew up with it, but in the story of humanity, it's unbelievably new. In fact, for over 99% of human history, nobody exercised. Not because they were unhealthy, not because they disliked moving, but because movement wasn't a hobby. It was a tool, and tools are only used when there's a job to do. But here's where the story takes a turn that almost nobody expects, because ancient humans actually moved a lot, just not in the way you think. Close your eyes for a second. When you picture prehistoric life, what do you see? People sprinting across open fields, throwing spears, climbing mountains, fighting wild animals, always moving, always surviving. Hollywood loves that version, but reality was much quieter. Imagine spending 6 hours looking for food. You finally find something. You carry it all the way back to camp. Your family eats. The danger is over. Now ask yourself, what would be the smartest thing to do next? Go for a 5-mile run? Of course not. You'd sit down, you'd recover, you'd save your strength, because tomorrow you might have to do it all over again. Nature doesn't reward the animal that wastes energy. It rewards the animal that spends it wisely. That's exactly what our ancestors learned over hundreds of thousands of years. Move when you must, rest when you can. Simple. In fact, one of the biggest misunderstandings about prehistoric life is thinking ancient humans were active every minute of every day. They weren't. When there was work to do, they worked incredibly hard, but when there wasn't, they rested without feeling guilty. No fitness watches, no step goals, no feeling bad because they hadn't closed their rings. Rest wasn't something they had to earn. Rest was part of survival. And that's where modern life quietly turned everything upside down. Because today, the problem isn't that we rest too much, it's that we've changed what movement is for. And once that happened, something inside the human brain became deeply confused, because for the first time in history, people started moving without needing to. At first, that sounds like progress, but the reason it happened is far more surprising than you think, and it begins with one invisible mistake that almost every modern human makes every single day. Think about the last time you promised yourself, "Tomorrow, I'll finally start exercising." Maybe you meant it, maybe you even laid out your workout clothes the night before. Then morning came. The alarm rang, and somehow, Staying in bed sounded like the smartest decision in the world. It's easy to call that laziness. But what if your brain was actually doing its job? Imagine you're living 100,000 years ago. You wake up with just enough energy to search for food. If you waste half of it running around for no reason, what happens when you suddenly need to chase an animal, or escape a predator, or walk miles to find water? You might not have enough left. In that world, saving energy wasn't weakness. It was survival. Generation after generation, the people who avoided unnecessary effort had a small advantage, not every day, but over thousands of generations. Those tiny advantages added up, until eventually, the instinct to conserve energy became part of being human. And here's the incredible part. Your brain still follows that ancient rule. It doesn't know you're living in a city. It doesn't know there's food waiting in your kitchen. It doesn't know hospitals exist. It doesn't know tomorrow's breakfast is already paid for. Deep down, it still behaves as if every calorie could save your life someday. That's why doing nothing often feels surprisingly comfortable. Your brain isn't trying to ruin your health, it's trying to protect you, using instructions written for a world that disappeared long ago. But then something happened that completely changed the rules. Human beings became too successful. Imagine taking an ancient hunter and dropping them into your neighborhood. Within the first hour, they'd witness something unbelievable. People press a button, and a box lifts them to the next floor. Food arrives without anyone hunting. Water appears from a wall. Machines wash clothes. Robots clean floors. Cars replace walking. Escalators replace climbing. Remote controls replace standing. To us, that's normal. To them, it would feel like magic. But here's the hidden cost of that magic. Every invention solved a real problem. None of them were bad. In fact, they made life safer, longer, and far more comfortable. But together, they quietly erased something humans had relied on for millions of years. Tiny movements, not marathons, not workouts, just standing, walking, reaching, carrying, squatting, climbing, movements so ordinary. Our ancestors never even thought about them. They simply happened every day. Without planning, without motivation, without discipline. Now compare that to modern life. You wake up, sit while eating breakfast, sit in a car, sit at work, sit while watching TV, then lie down to sleep. Without realizing it, an entire day can pass with barely any natural movement. Not because you're lazy, because your environment no longer asks anything from your body. And that's the real difference. Ancient humans didn't move more because they had stronger willpower. They moved because life gave them no other choice. Which raises an even bigger question. If they weren't exercising, and they spent so much time resting, why were they often healthier than we are today? The answer surprised scientists. And honestly, it might surprise you too. For years, people assumed there had to be one obvious reason ancient humans were healthier. They burned more calories. It sounded logical. Move more, burn more, stay healthier. Simple. Except reality refused to cooperate. When researchers began studying modern hunter-gatherer communities, they expected to find people burning vastly more energy than the average office worker. Instead, the results were far stranger. The gap wasn't nearly as big as anyone imagined. How could that be? How could someone walking for hours every day end up burning a similar amount of energy overall? The answer revealed something incredible about the human body. Your body isn't just an engine, it's also a budget manager. Think of your daily energy like money in a bank account. Spend more in one place, and your body often saves energy somewhere else. It's constantly adjusting, balancing, making trade-offs behind the scenes without you ever noticing. Which means the story was never just about calories, it was about how the body uses them. And that's when researchers started asking a completely different question. Maybe the secret wasn't exercising harder, maybe the real secret was something much simpler. Not intense movement, but constant movement, tiny movements, repeated all day long. The kind modern life has almost completely erased. And once scientists realized that, the entire picture of human health began to change. Because it turns out, the healthiest thing ancient humans did wasn't hunting, wasn't running, and it definitely wasn't exercising. It was something so ordinary, most of us never even notice it's missing. And once you see it, you'll start noticing it everywhere. Here's something worth thinking about. Maybe the biggest thing ancient humans lost wasn't their strength. Maybe it was their need to move. That might sound strange at first, but look around. Almost every object in your life is designed to save you a little bit of effort. You don't have to walk across town to deliver a message. You don't have to carry water from a river. You don't have to gather firewood before the sun goes down. You don't have to search for your next meal. These are incredible achievements. Human civilization solved problems our ancestors could never have imagined. But every solution came with a hidden side effect. Each one quietly removed another reason to move. One less walk, one less climb, one less lift, one less squat. On their own, those changes seem tiny. tiny, but over years, then decades, they begin to reshape the way we live. And eventually, the body starts missing something it was built to expect. Not because it wants punishment, but because movement was once woven into every ordinary day. It wasn't a separate task. It was simply life. So, does this mean you should never go to the gym? Of course not. That's not the lesson. The lesson is much deeper than that. For thousands of generations, people didn't have to remember to move. Life remembered for them. Today, the opposite is true. Life constantly reminds us to sit. So maybe the goal isn't to become more disciplined. Maybe the goal is to become more intentional. Instead of asking, how do I force myself to exercise? Ask a different question. How can I make movement feel normal again? Maybe it's taking the stairs without turning it into a challenge, walking while talking on the phone, standing up every hour, carrying your own groceries, parking a little farther away, taking a short walk after dinner instead of reaching for the remote. None of those things sound impressive. That's exactly the point. Ancient humans didn't become healthy through dramatic moments. Their bodies changed because of countless ordinary ones, small movements, repeated every single day, without giving them much thought. So the next time you choose the elevator or decide to skip the gym, remember this. Your brain isn't broken, and you're not lazy. You're carrying millions of years of survival instincts that were built for a world where saving energy meant staying alive. The challenge today isn't fighting those instincts. It's building a life where movement becomes a natural part of your day again. Not because you have to, but because your body was designed for it. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more fascinating stories about ancient humans and the hidden history behind our everyday lives. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.